this is Emily. Welcome back to my channel, and it's that time of month again where the deck of cards help pick my TBR. So I guess let's hop right on into what I read this past month or did not read yet and see if I'm going to be taking a punishment or not. So I was supposed to read 7 books. Of those 7, I've completed these 3, The Black Torch, The Golden Fool, and Flash Fire. I have not started the Chistlers yet, but I'm not taking a punishment because with everything going on in my life this past month and just now getting back into the groove of wanting to read again after all the stuff I dealt with, I felt like there's no point in punishing myself for life events I could not control. And otherwise, with that little mini rant aside, I do have 3 books I haven't finished yet, but I'm confident I can get through them or almost through them before the end of the month. And that's The Near Witch, Children of Time, and Any Way the Wind Blows, which I'm started all 3 of these, so hopefully I'll finish them before the end of the month, and it is currently the 15th, so I do have 16 days left. I just filmed this early, so it gives me time to edit, and that way I'm not rushing to try to put something together or something else happens when I don't have time to film, because lately with my life, I don't know what's going to happen. So with that aside, I am going to be competing in a readathon this month, hosted over by the Book Rose. Is her new Magical Readathon where she's revamped and taken away the less other stuff we don't want to speak about, and created this whole new world and interesting readathon that's going to be set in kind of like this cool magical school setting. So I'm kind of excited for that. And this month is kind of the introduction to her readathon, where we are going to be traveling through this new world on the way to school. So there's a few prompts we have to complete. On top of, we also have some prompts regarding to our character traits that we would like to be that will need to be completed too. So that's what I am going to be doing this month, and I will link her readathon announcement somewhere up here or down below in my description, so you can go check it out too if you're really interested, because there's been a lot of work put into this. There's some really amazing graphics, and I'm excited to do this readathon, and I hope you guys will join me too in it, because it looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. So going over briefly some of the prompts I do need to squeeze in for books when I'm choosing stuff this month is for the readathon itself. I only have to complete 2 of the 7 prompts, but I am going to try to squeeze all 7 into my TBR. The only caveat is I can't double up on any of these prompts for one book. I had to choose one book for each prompt. So I do need to try to read a book with a map, read a book that's top of my TBR, read a standalone, something that has supernatural elements like ghosts or something in it, read a thriller or mystery, a 5-star prediction, and read a book in a school setting. So those are some prompts I'm going to have to try to fulfill when I'm picking my TBR this month. Also, some of the character plots, I'm not going to give you all the prompts. I'm just going to tell you the ones I'm doing for my character, which is for urban, which I'm going to have a character that's from an urban setting. So I need to read a book that's set in a city or town. I'm going to have my character be from the mystical land of Artheria. Sorry if I butchered that. So I need to read something that has Fae or Elven characters in it. And I also want to be a human, so I need to read a contemporary or nonfiction. And again, if you're kind of confused on what I'm talking about, go check out G's announcement video, and it goes into great depth of all the characters and everything else with those reading prompts, and gives you the link and all that to those, because it's not my readathon. This is what I'm doing to participate in it, so I'm just telling you what prompts I'm trying to fulfill to meet these readathon goals. So another thing I'm trying to do this month is I'm looking to get a lot of more mangas on my TBR, because I do have a lot that I haven't read and I'm running out of room, So I'm going to try to cater towards hopefully picking more from those shelves if my game allows me to. And I might try to set aside like a weekend and read nothing but manga to kind of kick out a chunk of what I haven't read so I can make room for more. That's really the main reason I'm trying to read a bunch of mangas, because I got some more on the way and I don't have anywhere to put them. But that's going to be a work in progress. We're going to see how my game treats me, if I can fulfill that wish or not. If not, I might just be dedicating a weekend to just reading nothing but manga and see how that goes. So with that, I probably am not going to take a punishment next month, as I am competing in a readathon. And I do have some other stuff I need to read and focus on. So depending on if I don't get these prompts done, I probably won't be taking a punishment. We'll just see. Now, if I read absolutely nothing, then I definitely will take a punishment. But if I fulfill one of the other goals that I need to do, then I won't force myself to take a punishment. Just to give myself a little leeway. Plus, October will be spooky month, so I want to go in and read as much spooky stuff as possible, so I don't want to force myself to read something I don't want to read. So that's why I want to do that. And so September, no punishments for this month's game and no punishment for next month's game. I guess now that we've rambled on for like a minute and a half, I guess let's go ahead and do our first pick. So let's go ahead and start shuffling, and we will pick a card, which our first pick is a 5, which looks like we're safe, and that works great because that's my manga shelf. So I'm gonna go grab a book. Not gonna try to move my angles all around because I have no space to work with. As you can see, like my bed's here, bookshelf's here, so it's hard to angle where I need to angle now. But I'm gonna pick that book and tell you what I chose. So we're going to knock that school setting prompt out of the way and read the first volume of Silver Spoon, which is following Yugo, who decides he's going to attend a rural university and study agriculture, which is a bit of a culture shock from him because he's a city boy. So kind of getting used to city, going from city life to suddenly, hard hours, learning to farm and all that. That's what Silver Spoon's all about. So we're going to follow Yugo and his journey through agriculture school, which I think is pretty interesting because that's the career I studied at university myself. So I'm kind of interested to see how this story reads. I did watch the anime version of this, which inspired me to buy the manga. And plus, this is by the same author who created Full Metal Alchemist, which I really love that series too. So I'm excited to read this and really love the art style and all that. Moving on to the second shuffle. If I can get my cards to separate. Do one more for good measure. And I got an 8, which I believe was not safe. Of course, already into the game and we're adding on a book because, that's just my luck. So I decided for my second book, I am going to pick up Bridge of Souls by Victoria Schwab. This is the 3rd book, and I believe the Cassidy Blake series is what it's called. Basically, this is a story following Cassidy Blake and her ghost best friend. And her parents they're ghost hunters. So they have this TV show where they are going to the most haunted cities in the world. And in this 3rd book, they are going to be exploring New Orleans. So after Cassidy's already gone to, I believe it was Scotland and France. And so now they are coming back to the States to explore New Orleans, one of the haunted cities in America. So I'm sure this is going to be interesting, and I'm kind of interested to see what happens to Cassidy and her friend Jacob, and what other quirky things she discovers about her abilities and all that. So I'm excited to continue on with this series. Let's move on to our 3rd pick and see what we get. I think I'm starting to get the shuffling thing down. Not quite sure yet, but got a 9. So for my third book, I chose The Collapsing Empire, which is a book that's on my 12 books I need to read before the end of the year. So I figured I might as well tackle this now instead of regretting it later. So we're going to add this one on to my TBR, and basically this is a science fiction like space opera setting, and I believe there's the flow involved, and they discovered that the entire flow is moving, possibly separating all human worlds from one another forever. 3 individuals, a scientist, a starship captain, and the emperox of the interdependency must race against the time to discover what can be salvaged from an interstellar empire on the brink of collapse. So we're going to check this one out. Hopefully it's entertaining, and I'm looking forward to reading it. Let's move on to our 4th pick. Do a quick little shuffle here. We got a Jack, which is great because that's another manga shelf. So for my 4th book, I am picking up the 12th volume of Seraph of the End, and this is following a dystopian type world where vampires and humans are at war with one another, and there was this massive event where like all the adults pretty much died, so now it's just kind of a world of children. I think kids, I believe anybody over the age of 16 all died and left just the children around. Is what we were led to believe. And then there's some other stuff that's revealed later on and all that. So basically we're following Yuichiro and the Shinoa squad and what they're up to kind of help like stop this whole war and all that. So very interesting read. I have enjoyed the first 11 volumes and loved them anime series, and I'm excited to continue reading on because I'm now at the point where we have completely caught up to what has been released on anime. So now I'm reading just the manga adaptations solely, so it's kind of interesting to see what else has happened and further from what I've watched physically. So really excited to continue reading. Let's move on to our 5th pick. Unfortunately it's not the last because we had to add a book. So we're going to do a quick little shuffle here, and we're going to draw a 3, and I believe 3s are safe. Yes, they are. So let's go over here to the shelf and pick out a book off of there. So for our 5th book, I picked up The God Equation by Michio Kaku, who is a renowned theoretical physicist, and I've always been interested in reading about physics and stuff. I enjoy taking physics back in university. However, my math wasn't strong enough to actually pursue that as a major, but I do enjoy reading about it and studying it. It's just not something I had the smarts enough to pursue career-wise. But so I'm gonna read this, and hopefully it's interesting and insightful. Let's move on to what's hopefully our final pick. So we're going to go ahead and shuffle the cards and see what we get. Let's do one more quick shuffle for good measure. Got an 8, which is safe now. Yes, 8s are safe. So let's go pick a book from that shelf. So after much debating and figuring out what I'm going to read for my final book, I decided I am going to start working on Earthsea. But however, this is like 4 stories in one, so I'm only requiring myself to read The Wizard of Earthsea. Now, if I do read further, that's alright. I'm not going to take a penalty if I don't read this whole thing in 1 month, since it is 4 books in one. However, I am reading the first book of this series. So now that I have my books I'm required to read next month, I'm going to break down and just on what I'm reading for each reading prompt for this readathon I'm competing in, along with some extras I'm going to be adding on to fulfill all the prompts, or attempt to fulfill all the prompts. As mentioned earlier, I'm reading the first volume of Silver Spoon to fulfill the prompt of reading a book, stop it Percy, set in a school setting. And I'm sorry, my cat is trying to knock over my tripod as I film this. For reading a book at the top of my TBR, I will be reading The Collapsing Empire, because this is a book my TBR of 12 books I need to read before the end of the year. So it's a book I've been needing to prioritize, so I'm going to be reading this one. For a book set in a city or town, I am reading Seraph at the End because this takes place mainly in Japan. They're pretty much in a town the whole time. It just might be a crumbled down town. So reading a book with supernatural elements, I'll be tackling Bridge of Souls, which deals with ghosts. So we could tackle that prompt there. To read a book to fulfill the human character, I need to read either a contemporary or nonfiction, which The God Equation is definitely a nonfiction, so there we go. And then to read a book with a map, I have the first book of Ursi, which is a wizard, what's it called? A Wizard of Ursi. And there are maps at the beginning, which I'll show proof here. And throughout throughout the book, there's even more maps. Okay, now that I've scrounged through my shelves, I think I have discovered what other books I'm going to read to help fulfill these prompts. However, I might change them if I just change my mind mid-month. They're not set in stone. However, these are kind of what I have the idea to read. I try to pick short stuff so I can definitely get through all the prompts in the TBR and prioritize what I do need to read here. Plus, I try to make sure they were all mangas or something that will help with my goal of tackling a bunch of the mangas I still haven't read yet. So going on into that, for a mystery / thriller, I chose the 24th volume of Black Butler. And basically I chose this as a mystery thriller because this follows Seal and his butler, who are tasked by the queen to kind of solve mysterious stuff going on in London and stuff, and kind of put a stop to crime and stuff. So that's why I chose this one, because there's a lot of mystery involved and it's kind of thrilling because you never know what's going to happen next. For a book that features fae or elven characters to fulfill the Etheria prompt, which is where I want my character to be from, I chose the 12th volume of The Ancient Maggot's Bride, which is basically set in a world where there are fae. So we will be seeing some fae here, so that's why I chose this book. And then a 5-star prediction, I chose A Man and His Cat Volume 2, which is following a recently widowed man who ends up adopting this not so attractive cat who has been sitting in the pet store for over a year waiting to be adopted. And I thought this is a very cute read. Really loved the first volume, so I'm sure this volume will be just as amazing as the first one. My last book is a standalone, which I did not quite have any mangas that fulfilled that prompt because, you know, most mangas are series type reading. So I am choosing The Truth is a Cave in the Black Mountains by Neil Gaiman, which is an illustrated short story, which I hope is very interesting because I do love Neil Gaiman's work, so I'm hoping I find this enjoyable, and that's why I chose it for standalone. Plus it's short, and short reads are always the best options for readathons. Well, that's it for today's video and all the books I did choose. I know it's probably a bit longer than my normal deck of cards because I had to explain what else I'm adding on into it, but that's all for today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, feel free to click the like and subscribe button down below, and I hope to see you guys next time.